Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 18th verse of the 9th chapter of the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Esha vai Bhagavan Sakshad Adyo Narayana Puman Mohayan Mayaya Lokam Gudas Charati Vrishnishu. The meaning of this verse: this Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable, original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer. But he is moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. This verse is spoken by Bhishma Deva. He is addressing the Pandavas and all the assembled sages. Bhishma Deva is revealing the identity of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna appeared as one of the members of the Vrishni dynasty. Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, belonged to the Vrishni dynasty, descendant of King Vrishni. So Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva. In that dynasty, he is counted among the members of the Vrishni dynasty. So even though he is moving amongst the descendants of Vrishni dynasty as one of them, he is actually the supreme personality of Godhead. He is not another living being. So who can recognize this? Only the pure devotees can recognize Krishna. Only the pure devotees can recognize Krishna. Others cannot. So therefore, Bhishma Deva is revealing Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada explains this in the purport very nicely. Srila Prabhupada says, the Vedic system of acquiring knowledge is the deductive process. What is the meaning of deductive process? It descends or comes down from Krishna to Brahma to Narada to Vyasa. Successively, the knowledge is handed down without any change. As it is, without any change, the knowledge is handed down. This is the deductive process. As opposed to this, there is the ascending process. Ascending process is the method of currently we know something by our own efforts, collective efforts, individual and collective efforts. We have done some amount of research in science. We know something. But further on, they keep doing more research and they add to the knowledge base. So this is the ascending process, going from the known to the unknown, little by little by little by little by little. But the process is fraught with so many problems. So many problems. So those problems are not there in the Vedic system of deductive process, a descending process. The perfect, complete knowledge is given by Krishna, the source of all knowledge, the all-knowing Supreme Personality of Lord Krishna. He gives that knowledge to Brahma, the first created being in the whole universe, whole creation. And Brahma receives that knowledge and he hands down that knowledge to his sons and disciples. So it is perfect knowledge, it is complete knowledge, and it is properly transmitted and received without any change, without any speculation, without any errors, without any additions or subtractions, without any of those. So that is the Vedic system. So Srila Prabhupada says further, the Vedic knowledge is received perfectly by disciplic succession from authorities. Disciplic succession means guru to disciple, then the disciple to his disciple, he becomes the next guru and he hands over to his disciple. That's called the disciplic succession. Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhvacharya, like that it is coming down. Such knowledge is never dogmatic as ill-conceived by less intelligent persons. There are people who don't accept this knowledge which is coming down in parampara. They think it is dogmatic. The mother is the authority to verify the identity of the father. She is the authority for such confidential knowledge. A child, how can a child know who is my father? The mother has to say, such and such gentleman is your father. Other than that, there is no other way. Therefore, authority is not dogmatic. In the Bhagavad Gita, this truth is confirmed in the 4th chapter, in the 2nd verse of the 4th chapter. And the perfect system of learning is to receive it from authority. If you have the proper authorized source, then what you receive from that source is perfect knowledge. The very same system is accepted universally as truth, but only the false arguer speaks against it. Now, Prabhupada is pointing out a particular problem with the present generation of people who don't accept this method of receiving from authorities in disciplic succession. For example, modern spacecraft fly in the sky, and when scientists say that they travel to the other side of the moon, men believe these stories blindly because they have accepted the modern scientists as authorities. Isn't that what is happening? They say we have gone to the moon and we didn't find any life there, and some rocks, they have got it, and that's the end of the story of moon exploration. Now the people simply believe the scientists because they accept the scientists as authorities. The authorities speak and the people in general believe them. But in the case of Vedic truths, they have been taught not to believe. When it comes to the Vedas, Vedas are perfect knowledge, handed down in disciplic succession as it is, coming from the ultimate source of everything, Krishna. But people have been taught not to believe. Even if they accept them, they give a different interpretation. There are some people who accept the Vedas, but they give their own interpretation. Each and every man wants a direct perception of Vedic knowledge, but foolishly they deny it. If something cannot be directly perceived using their 5 senses, this is the system of science, so-called science, modern science, that what is acceptable is what is perceivable by the 5 senses. So there are things which are not perceivable by the 5 senses, but doesn't mean that you don't accept them. For example, we have something called the mind. Now the mind is not perceived by the 5 senses. You cannot see the mind, you cannot touch the mind, you cannot smell the mind, you cannot taste the mind, you cannot feel the mind. You cannot hear the mind. Now, does it mean that the mind doesn't exist? We all know, I have got a mind, you have got a mind, everybody has got a mind. And we say, mind is very disturbed, or mind is not peaceful, or mind is peaceful. We accept for sure that there is each and every person has got a mind. Now, if it is not perceived by the five senses, does it mean it doesn't exist? That's what they say, the scientists, modern day scientists say that. This is their way of ascertaining what is in existence, what is reality. This means that the misguided man can believe one authority, the scientist, but will reject the authority of the Vedas. The result is that people have degenerated without Vedic guidance, guidance of Vedic knowledge. People have become godless. They have become very, very they have become very much their moral values are degrading. They are losing good values just because they are rejecting the authority of the Vedas. Now, Prabhupada says, here is an authority speaking about Sri Krishna as the original personality of Godhead and the first Narayana. Bhishma Deva is an authority. Even such an impersonalist as Acharya Shankara has said in the beginning of his commentation on the Bhagavad Gita that Narayana, the personality of Godhead, is beyond the material creation. Narayana Paro Avyaktat. This is the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya by Shankaracharya. The universe is one of the material creations, but Narayana is transcendental to such material paraphernalia. This is what is told by Shankaracharya. Now, about Bhishma Deva, Prabhupada says, Bhishma Deva is one of the 12 Mahajanas who knows the principles of transcendental knowledge. These 12 Mahajanas are mentioned in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So, Bhishma Deva is one of them. His confirmation of Lord Sri Krishna's being the original personality of Godhead is also corroborated by the impersonalist Shankara. All other acharyas have also confirmed this statement, and thus there is no chance of not accepting Lord Sri Krishna as the original personality of Godhead. So, Bhishma Deva is one of the 12 Mahajanas. He is declaring Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shankaracharya is one of the acharyas about who has explained the Vedic texts, and he accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The other acharyas, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Lord Chaitanya, so many acharyas, they've all accepted, they are confirming. So there is no question of not accepting Krishna as Supreme Personality. And even Brahma has confirmed this in the Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, 14th verse. So Krishna is the first Narayana. In the spiritual world, what is the meaning of first Narayana? Prabhupada explains this. In the spiritual world, there are unlimited number of Narayanas who are all the same personality of Godhead and are considered to be plenary expansions of the original personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna expands as Balaram, Balaram expands as Sankarshana, Sankarshana expands as Narayana. So there are many Narayana forms, each Vaikuntha planet having one form of Narayana. There are unlimited Vaikuntha planets, unlimited forms of Narayana predominating each Vaikuntha planet. So this is the explanation given in the Bhagavatam, in the Vedas, in the Upanishads. So this is very, very clear, perfect knowledge. But it has to be accepted based on the authority of Bhishma Deva, based on the authority of Shankaracharya, based on the authority of the other acharyas, based on authority of Brahma, Narada, Vyasa. So this is the way of receiving transcendental knowledge. That's the conclusion. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.